daughters, sisters, and wives. They're gonna change our lives. Be women, be girls. They'll make a better world. Invest in her. Invest in her. Invest in her. And now here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Invest in Her. As you know, I'm your host, Catherine Gray. I am the founder of She Angel Investors and the She Angels Foundation, both designed to help fund women. And today I have on an exciting guest. She's right here in LA. She has created a multi-million-dollar wellness business, but now she's also giving back and helping pay it forward by inspiring the next generation of young female entrepreneurs. I'm excited to talk to Lynda Cormier. How are you?
I am so good. I am so excited to have this conversation.
Me too. And I know you're Angelino born and bred.
So grateful for that. I have to say, it's one of the things I am the most grateful for is being raised in Southern California and knowing what it's like to grow up close to the ocean. And
yeah,
you know, I
would say that you're one of 5 people that was born here.
I know.
We're all from somewhere else, including me.
Right. And if you come, why would you leave? That's the thing.
It's so fabulous. I've been here 15 years now, so I think I'm an official Angelino. But I'm so happy to have you with us today because not only are you a super successful businesswoman, and I want to talk about that, how you got into that business of wellness and thrived, but how you're inspiring other young women. But first, I always like to get to know my client and have my audience get to know the guest as well, because that's how we connect and understand. How did this woman create this super successful business, and how can I do the same? I'd like to think my audience is wanting to learn from you and be inspired from you, like I know I am. And you had shared with me something very personal, that you had lost your dad at a very young age. Is that correct?
Yes. I was 22. And it was very unexpected. And I can very proudly say my dad was my hero. I had an amazing relationship with him. And when I left for college, a whopping 45 minutes away from home, I went to school at USC, and I grew up only 45 minutes from there, but I literally would call him every day. And he was instrumental in really leading by example more than anything else. Like, I think of the business school that I went to was really being his daughter, because I witnessed him and the way that he interacted and his mindset and his beliefs. And losing him was devastating. It was unexpected. And it reinforced a part of me that I already loved life. I loved people. I loved life. But losing him so unexpectedly, I think what it did was magnify the part of me that wanted to just, like, every precious moment, squeeze life out of every moment.
So I totally relate to that.
Yeah.
I think when we either have a close experience of ourselves or we lose a loved one, it does make us look at life differently. I know I lost my sister a couple of years ago, and I've lost my parents. So I definitely relate to what you're saying, especially losing my sister at a somewhat younger age. She wasn't much older than I am. And so it was a real wake-up call, like, wow. I think I've always lived my life that way. Don't waste any days, but it kind of put it on steroids, and
yes.
So I relate to what you're saying. So how do you think that early loss, which had to be devastating, impacted your road to success? Like, it really could have gone either way, don't you think? And
yeah,
it inspired you to be a successful businesswoman. How are those connected? Because I tend to see, people's backgrounds tend to influence who they are in the world.
Well, gosh, that's such a great question. I've never been asked that question before. So my answer is going to be completely like what I teach people is open your mouth and your heart at the same time. So the first thing that comes to my mind is that I think that loss at 22, the way it played out into my life is that I was never going to let a positive thought or emotion go unspoken.
Mhm.
If I appreciated somebody, they were going to know it. If I was grateful for anything, they were going to know it.
I
And
love
so what
that.
it did is I was expressive to begin with, but it literally enhanced that. So when I personally think that success, success is a version of people growing. Businesses don't grow, people grow and they take their business with them. At least that's my belief. And so I think part of what happened is my leadership style. I have good confidence. I grew up with a lot of confidence, not arrogance, but confidence. But I think that my leadership style was influenced by the constant expression of positive emotions, feelings, compliments. It was really, I think that really enhanced my leadership style, was to be very expressive with positivity.
You mentioned something about your dad. It sounded like he was a successful business person.
Very.
And do you think maybe you wanted to carry on his legacy and be a successful businesswoman, kind of taking a part of him that was part of you, and that it led you to this success?
Well, I think there's one lesson that my dad taught me when I was 8 years old, and I didn't realize how profound it was. We were at his office building. Usually there was 70 people, 75 people there, and it was a Saturday. I was typing on the typewriter, and that dates me. That lets you know I was playing with whiteout. I don't know.
Girl, I remember.
Right? And I asked my dad, and I said, Daddy, I wanted to go to the beach. I said, Daddy, why are we here? It's a Saturday and nobody's here. And he said, I'm here on the weekend to make sure that things are going okay. There's no phone calls and it's quiet time for me to make sure that everything is running smoothly. And I said, okay. And then he asked me a question and he said, where do you think money comes from anyways? Well, I was 8 years old. So I answered honestly and I said, well, that's where money comes from.
That was honest.
And he said, money comes from providing value. And if you always provide value, you're never going to have to worry about making money. So I never sought out to be a successful business person, the CEO of a company and a speaker, all the stuff that my career has evolved into. I set out to provide value. From the time that I can remember stumbling into sales out of college, it was provide value, find out what somebody needs and serve that. And the
I
rest will
love
come
that.
out.
I love that. I was working with a thought leader named Andrea Quinn not too long ago, and I remember her saying, don't be afraid to ask for funding, because, I'm all about women getting funding, because you're asking for it for the greater purpose of what you're doing. You're not asking for it for yourself. And I think, that relates to what you're saying. You're asking someone to invest in something of value that's going to make a difference, to impact the world, not to impact yourself. And so when you frame it up like that, you're no longer afraid to ask.
Right, because it's never about you. I mean,
Yes.
I think if you're successful in business, it is never about you. It's about how you can serve. It's about the difference you can make. It's about how somebody's quality of life is going to be better. And I've learned, not just from coaching executives and helping them establish kind of the right mindset, but there's only two primary things that will take down a business. One is ego and one is greed. And some form of that is usually what takes a business down. And I was so fortunate to have in my father somebody who had neither. He
Wow.
didn't have ego and he didn't have greed.
Love that.
And so I think that example, his example, is what was so instrumental in my life.
Wow, he sounds like an amazing man, and what a wonderful influence on your life. I imagine there's a lot of people listening that, have had a similar situation. I certainly have been inspired by my parents, with everything from integrity to
Yeah.
fortitude.
Yeah.
You know, they do leave their legacies for us, don't they? You built up a very successful multi-million-dollar global wellness company, Gia. Let's talk a little bit about that because that's amazing. I mean, how many people want to build a multi-million-dollar business? Let's talk about how you did that. It sounds like you're sharing some of the things that you implemented into that rise to success.
Totally, 1,000,000%. I mean, this idea that people grow and bring companies with them. When we started the company, and my husband and I run the company together, I have the more of the reins. He's involved with other things. But it was one of these incredible synchronicities that he had a background in distribution and medical device. And we had access to some products that were specifically in the wellness arena and helping offset electromagnetic radiation impact, like cell phones and wireless things like that. And ironically, my father's business was in telecommunications. So I had this bizarre feeling that my dad brought into the world, helped usher in cellular technology. And now I was somehow, after studying English literature, somehow I was guiding this company that had solutions for the negative impact of that electromagnetic radiation coming from the cellular devices. So,
and let me ask you this, let me interject.
Sure.
Don't we have to be more concerned about that now more than ever with the 5G? This
Yes.
is what I've heard.
Yeah. Yes, we absolutely do. There is no debate about it. People would like us to think that there is, but there is no debate about it. But the bottom line with the company is that we have independent, doctors, healthcare practitioners, chiropractors, a lot of healthcare offices that use our products. We have independent consultants who bring these products out into the world, our representatives. So my job primarily was to work with them so that they could trust themselves enough to have the courage to talk about things that maybe someone wasn't talking about a decade ago or didn't want to believe a decade ago.
Right. So what kind of products are these that help mitigate the effects of the cell service?
There's several, but the primary categories, one is that there's an energy category that is specifically meant to go on the devices.
Mm-hmm.
It's a patented technology that you put on your cell phone, your router, things like that. And it just helps neutralize the impact.
Oh my gosh, I want one of these already.
And then we also have a phenomenal, the cornerstone of our company is a hydration technology, because when our body is stressed and cellular absorption is compromised, we have to increase hydration. And so our hydration technology is also patented. And that helps offset really everything, because your body, your brain fog, your memory, your conditioning, everything, our body is all water. So the more hydrated we are. So those are some of the categories.
So if people are interested, like I am, in those products, what website would they find that at?
That's at Gia Wellness, GIA.
GiaWellness.com?
Yeah, GiaWellness.com.
Great. I want to also talk about, besides being super successful businesswoman, that, every week I always tell women, if you're super successful, you need to give back and pay forward, because it's what brings people so much joy. And speaking of joy, you had just mentioned to me that you're starting a nonprofit called Journey to Heroic Joy. I mean, what a wonderful name. I want to hear all about that. I know you're just in the process of launching it. Yes. Tell me a little bit about that. What is the mission of the Journey to Heroic Joy?
Well, in our company, we started a segment of the company that was to empower young men and women. The idea is, if you're 9 years old, I guess, is the youngest that I've had in any one of my events. But if you're 9, 10, 13, 15, 18, 23 years old, and you can discover the amazing capacity that you have to realize the possibilities that are inside of you, you're going to make better choices. If you have more confidence when you're 13, you make better choices. And that domino effect is critical. And so over the course of the last years, and especially what happened in 2020 and some of the absolute disruption that was so needed for us to all, I think, wake up, really, really wake up.
I agree with you.
It was, I had to do something about it. And so focusing on the solution, which is education, empowerment, increasing confidence, specifically in women, that if they can increase their level of confidence, belief in themselves, and recognize the power that's inside of them, and it's not that challenging, it's just reaching them, sharing principles that are proven and time tested and fun. And so the Heroic Joy platform is really about teaching, mentoring, coaching, offering resources. And I'm so excited because it's kind of the culmination of my whole life being put on this platform. And I'm just so excited, and I feel like it's kind of giving back magnified a little bit right now.
You know, I so relate to what you're saying. This year, I had the blessing of being able to start our own She Angels Foundation, and we give to female-founded nonprofits that are helping women. And I have to tell you, it has brought me so much joy. It was a dream of mine to have this, and my friend Catherine Curry Williams, who had started another nonprofit that was very successful, Shane's Inspiration, came over and we teamed up and we launched this to help empower women. And I have to tell you, I can't tell you enough how much you're going to love launching your nonprofit, because it is so fulfilling to give back and pay it forward, and to see people really benefit from the nonprofit donations that we have members that have donated, and we utilize those monies to provide these grants to these women. And it's been really fulfilling to see those monies go to causes that have really helped changing the world. And that's what you're doing with this nonprofit that you're launching. You can't imagine the impact it's going to make. And young women, I've always been saying this, for the last several years, since I've stepped into this arena of let's empower women, is that our culture does not cultivate the confidence in young women that they do in men. And that's something we have to fix. So what you're doing is such a great solution and a beginning to how do we implement programs. Here you are, you're a speaker and a coach for top leaders in various verticals, and you're taking that information and giving it to young girls. And I think that's invaluable.
Thank you so much. It's really interesting. It was early on in my career, I was being interviewed, and someone said, what is one tip for success? Like, if you could attribute one thing, what would it be? This is decades ago. And I said, one tip, just open your mouth and your heart at the same time. And everybody loved it. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Like, if you open your mouth and your heart at the same time, you say kind things, you say positive things, you're trusting, whatever, but nobody did it. And I was like, how good is the advice if nobody can do it? Because everybody's overthinking, should I say this? If I say this, what's going to happen? That's not opening your mouth and your heart at the same time. That's being in your head.
Right.
And so I realized just in the last few years, like, while it sounds great, the advice is not good unless people can use it. And that's where this whole new kind of emphasis on find your voice, listen to your voice, but trust your voice. And the part that I've realized that I'm pretty good at in helping other people is the trusting their voice part. That's the part that I spend a good amount of time doing, mentoring and coaching and the trainings and stuff that I do is about that part.
Yeah, because women second guess themselves. Like, even when they're applying for a job, they think they have to have 10 out of the 10 requirements, but research shows men think they only need 2 or 3. So a woman will overthink it. Yes. And not feel they're qualified unless they have all of the requirements. And it's not true. They have to just believe in themselves. And as you said, have confidence. So you implement a program of advice and tips and information to young women. I see you've done it like for Boys and Girls Club and various organizations where you go in and help these girls build confidence. what is some of the advice you could share with us that would maybe impact us as well as the young women?
I think there's a few beliefs that I encourage people to adopt. If they're in my presence, if I'm doing a training, just for the time being, just if you don't believe this, just for the next few hours, believe this. One, you are required. You are required on the planet.
Yeah.
What you have to offer, nobody else can. There's only one of you. Even twins have different fingerprints. So recognize that you are required, and that essentially you're like a star just wrapped in skin. And a star is meant to shine. A star is meant to populate the sky. And a star is also guides us. So you are that. And all I'm asking them to believe for a little while is that they're required, that they have gifts that nobody else has, and that when they bring those gifts out into the world, it's like putting a puzzle piece in this ever-expanding puzzle. And they have a responsibility and a privilege to bring those gifts out into the world.
I love that. I definitely believe exactly what you just said. Everybody on this planet has a gift, and it's a matter of tapping into what that gift is, because when you activate that gift and you live and breathe that gift, you're going to be so joyful.
Totally.
I feel like that's what brings happiness, is doing what
is.
you love and tapping into, well, what is it that you love to do? Well, I think you're doing great work, Lynda. And I know you're a sought after speaker. People can find you at Lynda with a Y, Lynda Cormier, Cormeier. Is that right? Cormier
Right.
.com. And they can find you there. And we will be looking for a Journey to Heroic Joy to be launched, the nonprofit. Do you have an ETA? Is that going to
No,
sometime this year?
Yeah, sometime this year. Definitely sometime this year. We've just
Beautiful.
started. We've had 4 preliminary meetings. I have some amazing people that are really interested in contributing to that. So I'm super excited about it.
It's always nice to have a new venture that's a dream come true, to look forward to seeing it unfold. And I wish you all the luck with that. Thank you so much for being on the show, sharing your story with us and your wisdom. And I really appreciate you taking the time. Everybody out there, remember to follow Lynda at what's your social media?
Lynda Cormier, Instagram, Facebook. It's just my name.
Okay, great. And of course, follow us at She Angel Investors on all of the social media. We look forward to seeing everything unfold, and we will be watching for Journey to Heroic Joy. What a great name. And everybody out there, remember to invest in her. Get behind the young female entrepreneurs. Thanks so much, Lynda. Make it a great week.
Thank you. You do the same.
Thank you, everybody.
Our theme music was created and produced by Lindsay Tomasic.